Ashton. Hi. How's it going? Here we are. 2021. Woo! It's gotta be a great year. Things are looking good. So, I guess let's look at the backbeat groove stuff we're working on with the fills. We both know what that is, right? And one thing, Courtney, if you don't mind, maybe shooting a little bit longer, maybe like a couple minutes worth of actual playing, because it'd be helpful to see a whole bunch of fills transitioning in and out. Groovy, thank you. And from what I saw, okay, no rim shot? Didn't seem like you were playing a rim shot. Maybe you just forgot on the video. It didn't look like a rim shot. It didn't sound like a rim shot. I could be wrong. But let's remember the rim shot on that, right? Rim shot. And it looked like groove-wise, it was pretty good. But, you know, it's still not super comfortable, probably. Maybe, it looked like maybe a 7 out of 10. I don't know. Which is fine. It's hard. This is a hard thing. And we're going to spend a lot more time on it. So, probably by the end of this week, it'll be a 9 out of 10, I bet. And I think what I want to do is stay on the same exact one for now. To make sure that groove is feeling and sounding really good to you, like a 9 out of 10, and B, I want to explore fills a little bit, which is cool. I didn't plan on talking a whole lot about fills with these exercises, but I changed my mind. We're going to talk about fills more, which is good, because we haven't talked about fills at all, really. The fills that you played were cool, but I think I have some light to shed on that will help you. So, let's establish this groove, or let me establish it for myself. 75, right? And we're over on the ride cymbal. We have quarter notes in the left foot. And I got slightly off the metronome there because I was flipping my stick around to get a meatier sound. Okay, that's our groove. Let's talk fills. So, I'm sort of seeing you play. I only saw a few fills from that this week, but I've seen you play other fills. A lot of times you're playing sort of fast, what we would call flashy fills. And, you know, I get it. They're exciting. They're fun to play. And we need to be able to play flashy fills. And you're already doing that, so that's cool. But know that in music, drum fills are not there to be flashy and exciting most of the time. That's not their purpose. And when we play a fill, it's not our moment to shine. It's not our chance to show off how fast we can play. That is not the point of fills, pretty much ever. Maybe in certain like fusion, jazzy fusion styles of music, but that's kind of the nature of that music. It sort of calls for that. So my point is, the music is going to dictate what type of fills to play. And as we move forward, I'll try to come up with some songs that you can check out that will prove my point. But know that fills are there to support the music, and that's why we do them. Mostly why we play fills is we're marking a different section of the song. Okay, so going from the verse to the chorus, a lot of times there's going to be a fill right at that transition, right before the chorus comes in. And that helps the listener know that there's a change in the music. It's soothing to the ear from a compositional standpoint. And, you know, playing live with other musicians on stage, it helps keep them in line, which is part of our role as a drummer. If you play a fill, you know, the guitar player that's spacing out, just as an example, is going to go, oh, here comes the chorus. Okay, I'm ready. The drummer showed me where the chorus was. It sounds kind of basic and shallow, but this is the reality a lot of times. The really great musicians don't really have this issue, but at the same time, they kind of do. It's our job as a drummer to keep people in line. But really, it's the most important thing is it's a musical thing. Okay, so and a lot of times that's going to mean playing fills that are very simple, very short, and not flashy at all, because that's what the music wants. Cool. That being said, let's talk about some ways of thinking about fills. And let's break this down into the length of the fill and also thinking about the fill in terms of note value. And for this week, for today, let's look at the length of the fill as being one measure. So that's 4 entire beats worth of fill. So what I'll do is I'll play the groove for 3 bars, and then I'll play a fill that uses up the entire 4th measure. And that makes it a little bit exercisey, and of course, in a musical situation, usually we don't want to be playing a fill every 4 bars. And when you practice this on your own, maybe you want to groove for longer before you throw in a fill. Okay, but for now, I'm just going to put it into this sort of template. And so we have a 1 measure fill, and let's play a fill that's quarter notes. That's right, quarter notes. It's going to seem very boring and very slow at this tempo, but that's okay. And it's actually kind of hard to play because there's so much space between the quarter notes. And for today, let me see if I can just keep all my fills just on the snare drum. So that will really simplify what our brains have to be doing, which is thinking about the length of the fill, where the fill is going to go within our phrasing. So that'd be the 4th bar for now. And it's thinking about the note value that it's playing. That's already a lot to think about without having to throw in using all the tom-toms, for example. Okay, so I'm going to play 3 bars of groove. I'm going to play a quarter note fill that uses up the entire 4th measure, and I'm going to just stay on the snare drum, hopefully. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's actually, when you execute that fill, when you play it very well, like for the most part I did, it's actually a really hip fill. In the right places, Like, that fill is gonna be way cooler than playing something fast and flashy, believe it or not. Okay, moving on. Let's also say, keeping everything else the same, let's interpret our fills as an eighth note value. Okay, so at that tempo, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you'll notice I'm playing all of these as single strokes, starting with the right hand, just to keep things simple. And I'm putting a crash on beat 1 after the fill, which in kind of pop sort of styles, which is what we're working on with this stuff right now, more or less, usually there's a crash on beat 1 after a fill. We need to be able to not put the crash there as well, because sometimes it's better to not have it. Actually, me, taste-wise, I wouldn't say most of the time. I'd say 50% of the time I don't put the crash on beat 1 after a fill, because I find it to be maybe too cliche, too generic, too normal, right? And I like stuff that's a little bit more weird. Okay, so here it goes. 3 bars of groove and a 1 measure fill in the 4th bar. Sorry, measure, bar, they're both the same thing. I think you know that at this point. I will say both all the time randomly, so hopefully it's not confusing. 3 bars of groove, a 1 bar fill in the 4th bar as 8th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, groovy. And we could also do 16th notes, yeah? Which the fills I saw from you this week were more 16th note based. I think they were. Actually, maybe you were playing 32nd notes. I don't remember. But let's do 16th notes. Same deal, but now our fill is 16th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so, sorry, I had a couple little flubs in the first round or so of that, so I played a little bit longer, but that was cool. And of course, keeping that groove and keeping that feel and having everything feel good and comfortable, that's the most important thing. So, let's do this for this week. Kind of just show me what I just showed you, I guess. And unfortunately, this is turning into more of an exercisey thing, which I didn't want to do. But I think we can get out of exercisey mode pretty quickly. But I think we need to go there in order to give you some different ways of thinking about fills, at least for the next couple weeks or so. Okay? Groovy. Next. Rim shot, too, by the way. Which I totally didn't play any of those as rim shots. But that's mostly because I have my drum not set up for rim shots right now. I have 3 moon gels on here, as you maybe can see. and I have my internal muffler on, and this head is really, really loose. I was just doing some recording, and I was going for that really low, dry snare drum sound, which doesn't sound good with rim shots. So I'm going back of the drumstick, right in the middle of the head, and it sounds nice and fat. Cool. But for you, rim shots, please, because we need to dial that in. All right, next, rudiments. Okay, the rudiments were great. A couple little mistakes in there, no big deal, which you already know, but I'll just point them out anyways. Transitioning from double windmill to single ratamaflam, right? That's like hard still. That is a hard one. It happens very quickly, right? We end with a left on the double windmill, and then we have a left as roughs right away on that single ratamaflam. So it's hard to execute that, but it is doable. I did it a couple weeks ago. Work on that transition. You may want to slow it way down and just try to clean that up. Also, I believe triple ratamaflam to paradiddle diddle. That transition was also weird, but that shouldn't be too hard. Maybe you just like a little lack of focus at that moment, which is why you messed it up. Everything else has sounded great. Closer to the edge with your press roll, and you'll get a cleaner press roll. So, I don't know if you can, I'll put it over here so you can see that better. So my sticks are literally like an inch away from the edge of the drum, maybe an inch and a half. It looked more like you were like 3 or 4 inches away from the edge. Part of that's you got that big fat ring on your snare drum. Like, I would never have a big fat ring on my snare drum if I wanted to play press rolls. So take that thing off if you're working on your rudiments. If it's too ringy, experiment with some of that moon gel you got, right? You can put even just 1 square of moon gel on a ringy drum like that will make a world of difference. And make sure to put it somewhere that's not in your way. Okay. So, I trust that you can get those things together. And so let's move on to the 4th page. Woo! 4th page. First one, top line, 4-stroke rough. So if you look at that, it's like a rough, a normal rough, which is 2 little notes followed by a big note. But it has 3 little notes followed by a big note. I kind of feel like they should have called it a 3-stroke rough, but it's called a 4-stroke rough because it's 3 little notes and a big note, which added together equals 4. Whatever. I sort of think of it like 3 little notes, and then there's the normal quarter note that just happens naturally. Anyways, the difference here being it's played like as single strokes, right? So right, left, right, left. It's not double strokes like a typical rough. So very slowly, it looks like this. And we're just going to look at the first one of these for this week, which starts with the right and ends on a left. The first 4 bars. The second 4 bars, it switches sides like they always do in these pages. But we'll look at that next week. Just because these are tricky, and if you're like me, you'll probably find the second one to be very difficult. And you'll find the first one to be almost as difficult. Okay, so let's just worry about the first one for this week. So you'll want to start just like, don't worry about tempo or time or a metronome, and just slowly, just kind of work out what that is. Right, left, left. And that left should be accented a little bit, yeah? Right, left, right, left. Right, left, right, accent. Right, left, right, Okay. And then once you sort of get it in your system and you're like, okay, I get the deal here, then you'll just slowly speed it up a little bit. Now at that speed, that's what we want it to sound like eventually. That left is on a downbeat. So those three little notes have to come right before it. And then the left falls right on a downbeat. So let me grab a metronome here. If you get to a point of putting this with a metronome, probably 70, well, 70 might be doable. Let's see what that is. Yeah, 70 is cool because we only have these 4-stroke roughs on beat 1 and beat 3. So there's a lot of space in there. Okay, so if you put it with a metronome, this is what we want it to sound like eventually. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so those three little roughy things that are single strokes, they happen like almost as quickly as you can make them happen, right? And then the left falls on that downbeat. Da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. Okay. Give it a whirl. See how it goes. I think that's the most advice I can offer on this. I would imagine this one being the way that it is, sort of comes to people in different ways. It's a little funky. Biggest thing is to make sure that you're putting that accented left on the downbeat with the click, right? And those little 3 notes, they come just before it. Stay very loose and relaxed. If we have any tension whatsoever in our arms, hands, fingers, body, brain, this one's just not going to happen. It's just going to get messed up every time you try to play it. So start slowly. And then slowly close in those three notes. Cool. Hopefully all that makes sense. Just looking at my notes here, I think that's about it for today. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Okay, my friend. See you next time. Thanks for your hard work, and I'll talk to you then. Adios.